And we understand that Mayor Giuliani will be there at noon, as will Vernon Jones, who's with us now, who was at the rally yesterday. Hey, Vernon, great to have you on, man.
Hey, John, it's an honor to be a FOJ, and always enjoy talking to your listeners. And, gosh, you really get information out there that people can rely on and trust. So thank you, John, for all you do and all you've been doing.
We can't get the truth out. The media will not cover. I'm the only person, and Steve Bannon in War Room, that's covering this. I mean, they just won't. I mean, there was not a single legit media company at your rally yesterday. Not one. Why? Why don't they cover it?
Well, John, you and I both know why. The media has a vested interest. The media supported Joe Biden, mainstream media, that is. Not only have they been obviously accused, and it's obvious now that they are guilty of it, of fake news. Now, John, they've moved it to 2.0. Now they're hiding the news. And so that's why people don't trust the media anymore. And we need outlets like yours to get out there and cover what needs to be covered and tell the truth. Even right now, you don't see mainstream media, CNN and MSNBC, putting out there how Stacey Abrams, with that voter project she had called New Project, here it was that Warlock, I call him, he was tied into it. He was the chair of that board. And there's many accusations about them getting people registered from out of state, also harvesting ballots. And he was over this outfit until just February of this year. And so, but the media, mainstream media, CNN, MSNBC, ABC, they don't want to talk about it. Why? Because they are trying to help change Washington and flip the Senate.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you
John,
something.
They don't even talk about Joe Biden. If they had really gone at Joe Biden, how is it you run for president of the United States and you can tell the media, well, I'll wait until after the election and tell you how I feel about it? Really?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And not be held accountable? No, John, it's obvious that there's a dead cat on the end of that line.
All right, so let's go to the hearing today that is by the Senate Oversight Committee. What are your expectations? What will it do?
Well, first of all, I'm glad to see the Georgia legislature move forward. That oversight committee, both House and Senate, they have the authority in the Constitution to come out and hold these types of hearings. I'm glad to see that happen. At least someone is moving forward with something. And then it allows for the public, people to come in and share their stories and what happened to them. That is good. That's getting information out. Here's what's important too, John. The Article 2 of the Constitution allows legislatures to really overturn or have the final say-so on the electoral votes when they come together to award those electoral votes to a particular person, whether it's Biden or Trump. If we feel like there's been some shady dealings going on and we have enough evidence and proof, we can deny what they do with those electoral votes, and we can, when I say we, the General Assembly can award those votes accordingly. So that is still being pursued, and that's why I'm glad to see this hearing take place, so it can show the legislature that there's something going on here, and people deserve an answer. That's the problem, John. Mm-hmm. You have voters all across this country, and certainly in Georgia, Democrat and Republican, black and white, want to know. They want to know if their vote was counted, was it counted accurately. How can somebody not be listened to and somebody voted for them and they didn't vote? How can someone not have their questions answered when a dead person is voting? Someone's husband's dead, but that person voted. And not be responsible. People want to hear back. They elected us. They want us to tell them, not the media to tell them what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Vernon Jones with us, who is part of the leadership team for the Trump-Pence 2020 campaign in Georgia. Vernon, when you think it's all said and done, are the 16 electoral votes in Georgia, are they going to go to Trump's column, yes or no?
John, I cannot, without being intellectually dishonest, tell you that yes or no. I can say this. Many Georgians, and you saw it yesterday, they felt as though, and they feel as though, that there was some hanky-panky with this election and that Trump was given a raw deal. Now, that needs to be investigated, period. Point blank, it needs to be investigated. And I believe, John, with a thorough investigation, with enough doubt that is coming about even now, John, I believe there's still a chance that this president will be reelected. And I am not giving up on that until I really feel that the fat lady is saying. She hadn't even come up to the microphone yet, John.
Mm-hmm.
And so I am still in this, and I'm fighting this to the end. Now, when every avenue has been exhausted, and the president and anybody else is given an opportunity to pursue what's legally their right, and it doesn't happen, then fine. But, John, it's not only about this election. We got another election coming up January 5th. And what about the elections in 2022? So it's not, I keep saying it's not just about the November election. It's about America's election going forward, the integrity and transparency of the process, a free and fair election, John. And that is what is at stake. We're not a third world country. We're not Venezuela. The software was used by the Venezuelan government, really, where socialism has run rampant and the country is shut down now. John, these questions have to be answered so people can feel confident in the election process and participate like they want to and like they should. John, I agree with them, John, wholeheartedly. And I'm disappointed, John, that there has been more movement, obviously, from the Republican side and from the Democrat side. Because a vote, John, if election has if the integrity of the process has been shattered, that not only hurt Democrats but hurt Republicans too. It hurts anyone who wants to vote. And then when you're talking about having people to register from outside the state to participate in elections here, that's fraud. That's a felony. And until somebody's prosecuted for this foolishness, it's not going to stop. And I'm hoping there's some prosecutions that come out of this.
Vernon Jones with us. Vernon Jones, a House of Representatives member from the DeKalb County area. Vernon Jones, former DeKalb County CEO and former representative, also then came back. He's a Democrat, has been his whole career. He's switched to Trump, and that's a part of the new coalition that we have, and he's a key part of the Trump leadership team in Georgia. So at the rally yesterday, Vernon, you had to be overcome. I mean, I was stunned by the number of people there in Alpharetta in the middle of the day. I mean, 1,500, 1,600, 1,700 people is what I got. People cheering on every word, fired up, but nobody's listening, Vernon. The problem is the Republican establishment in this state, Brian Kemp, Cosmo Man, what's his name, Jeff Duncan with a $5,000 Armani suit on CNN, and Raffensperger and so many others not listening. Perdue not listening. Loeffler not listening. That's the problem. And so what the voters are saying is that, hey, if you don't fix this, why should I come out for you again on January 5th when the same thing is going to happen? It's going to get stolen from me again. They already know Stacey Abrams has already injected another 900,000 absentee ballots in the mail stream. That's coming. So people are like, why don't you stand up for me and fix it so my vote matters? How do you respond to that?
Well, John, first of all, you mentioned about me supporting the president. Yes, I'm a Democrat, lifelong Democrat, but I have to put my country before my party, and my party has fallen short. Now they're embracing socialism and Marxism with Black Lives Matter and Antifa. They want to take away our First and our Second Amendment rights. That is crazy. That's not the Democratic Party that I got involved with 30 years ago. I support this president because he's about results. He has done more in the past 47 months, truly, than Joe Biden and the Democratic Party has in the past, in my opinion, 47 years. Now, with that being said, I am, too, one of those patriots here in Georgia who want free and fair and transparent elections. When I look at the lack, and I believe the lack of, you mentioned the leadership from the Republican side, but here's what is at stake. We have to hold our nose, John. We have to go and vote in this Senate runoff. And I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat, I'm calling on you to vote for Kelly Loeffler and to vote for David Perdue, because Georgia has to hold the line. We are the battle state. We are the battle state on this battlefield to save the United States of America. If we don't, John, we will be Venezuela when people are telling you what day you're supposed to go get your bread. You're on a list for 7 years before you can get a cell phone. There's no utilities going on. The government's literally taking your land, That's what socialism is. And so if I have to hold my nose, if someone has to hold their nose to hold the line with Georgia, keeping that Senate Republican so there'll be a firewall there, I'd rather do that than to see myself wake up one day and I'm in Venezuela here in the United States. And that is what at stake. And that is why if every Georgian listening to me right now, you have to go and vote. You have to. I would say this, those who are out of state, who have friends in the state of Georgia, relatives, call them too. Because I know your station is nationwide. Call your friends and your family in Georgia and say, listen, if I live in Virginia, but your vote in Georgia is going to save my country, my family, and my children. We are here to save the entire United States. Georgia is. We have to maintain some type of balance in the U.S. Congress, and this is the only way to do it. We have 2 senators that's up for re-election. They need to be re-elected. I'm not saying they're perfect, but they're damn sure better than Stacey Abrams and Antifa and George Soros taking this country over and telling you what you can do, when you can do it, and taking away all your rights, John. You know what's at stake, John. You know what's at stake. And I believe Georgians are beginning to understand, wait a minute, we have a round 2. We have a round 2. We have a way right now to get back. And we got to come to those polls. And if you want to do a mail-in ballot, fine. But just make sure you vote. Make sure you vote. This is too crucial, John. This is the most important election in our time. I know we've heard that before, John, but this really is. Look at where we are now, John. You got elected officials who want to defund the police department. Police officers are walking off every day from their jobs because they don't feel that someone has their back. And I'm talking about those law enforcement officers who are ethical, who do their job each and every day. And now you're saying you're not going to fund them when we should be increasing their funding for more training. And let me tell you, Joe Biden is not going to be able to handle Antifa and Black Lives Matter. He's not going to be able to handle them. They're going to run over him where they won't run over President Trump. They're going to run over him if he's elected. And they're going to come to those suburbs. Mm-hmm. They're going to come to a neighborhood near you. They're going to burn your house. They're going to loot. They're going to feel like they can take your property. They can take city blocks and set up a government of their own, literally, and keep taxpayers and elected officials and government officials from coming in those blocks as if it's theirs. That is what's at stake, John. This is real. This is no joke. This is real.
So what is going to stop them from stealing it again, Vernon?
John, we have to double our vote, where it's not a 14,000 vote difference like here in Georgia right now. We have to think about how many folks that stayed at home. If just 5% of those who didn't vote had come to and voted in this election, John, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm not crying victim here. I'm not happy with the process. I'm frustrated, obviously. But wait a minute. If 5% more of the people had come out and voted, and I can tell you why a lot of them didn't probably, John. The media played a role in this in terms of suppressing and depressing voters. Why? Here. Or Trump is 10 points behind. Oh, he's 17 points behind. Oh, Trump is losing this election. Not holding Joe Biden accountable as if Joe Biden, how can a man sit in his basement and win the presidency of the United States?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, look, I'm
Groundhog
right there.
Joe. The media discouraged. That's why I said the real voter suppression and the real election interference.
All right,
it's been by the CNN of that they have done more to interfere with this election than Russia and China combined.
So the way to win this, though, is for action. I mean, that's the people on the ground. What they're telling me is to get me motivated to go out and vote, I need to see action. I want a special session. I want action. I want my Republican leaders to do something. Otherwise, it's going to happen again. Here's a text here from Ann in Chesapeake, Virginia. She says, so now I get it. The manipulation and fraud has been going on for years by the power and money whores. It only became known because Trump's overwhelming votes overran the system by so much that the normal corruption couldn't overcome it, so they had to take extreme measures and then open themselves up to the fraud being uncovered because it was so blatant. That's from one of our listeners, Ann in Chesapeake. Let's get to Pat in Buffalo. line one. Pat, thanks for your patience. You're on with John and Vernon Jones.
Hi, you're both great guys. I really admire what you're doing. But Mr. Jones, it's not enough, in my opinion, to say come out, because if you were listening to Sidney Powell with Mr. Fredericks just before, she said Trump was winning by 900,000. So what did they do? They just flooded with 1 million, to win. So no matter how many people come out in Georgia, they have the ballots locked up, just ready to be flooding the system to make sure that they win. So I do think that you're right, because you're telling people to come out and vote. I think that's correct. But I also think that both of you have Mr. Trump's ear, and you're going to be seeing him on Saturday night. He should get Lynn Wood and Sidney and the two candidates, and those three, Kemp and Cosmo Boy and the other guy, Rattenberger.
Cosmo Boy.
Get them in a room. He has the art of the deal. He can put pressure. He supported Kemp, and if Kemp doesn't want to be removed in the next election, Trump knows how to do it. He's a smart guy, and I know that you have, through Jason Miller and through Steve Bannon, who was on your show, and you remember when I reminded Mr. Bannon that I called 4 years ago, complaining about the media, and he said that I was right, and so I really hope that you'll listen to my call when I'm telling you that you have connections to Trump. Both of you do, and Mr. Fredericks, you do through Mr. Bannon, and Bannon, talks to Jason Miller, so Miller can talk to Trump. Get them in a room, do what he has to do, so that this is what they should be going for: paper ballots, which Sidney wants and Lynn would want, right? Paper ballots, and there should be, a Republican and a Democrat counting the paper ballots, and
there should be.
I hate to interrupt.
And
I'm a half. Because I have 9 o'clock. Let me just finish this. I appreciate her call. It is too late right now. There's no way in the world we can have paper ballots and change the voting system between now and January 5th, the runoff election. The other thing is there does need to be a unified message here, and I think the president has been doing all he can to get the leadership here to react, and I think many people are disappointed in that. But I'll say this, John, we still have to come out and vote. And the president, prior to this election, the president was saying 6 months ago how there's going to be some fraud, the harvesting of the ballots. He said it, but the news media made him look like he was crazy. And more people did not take him serious because how the media was portraying him. Now, though, that we see what can happen, we have turned the light on, and those roaches are running now. They are running now. And so we're woke now, where that last election, people were not awake in terms of what could happen. Now they know, and those roaches are running for the cover. John, I'm going to have to take off. Thank you so much. Your folks can follow me on @Rep Vernon Jones, @Rep Vernon Jones.
Vernon, thank you. I really appreciate it.